Hello everybody, welcome to Melchester Model Railway, and today I'm going to be taking a look at this rather lovely Beattie Well Tank, which is hot off the production line following the winter 2020 announcements from Bachmann. So let's take a look. Bachmann announced a new brand at the beginning of this year called EFE, or Exclusive First Editions. Its aim is to reintroduce previously released models by third parties and distribute them to a wider audience. Joining the umbrella brand are models such as this Beattie Well Tank, which was previously released by the now defunct manufacturer DJ Models. So on the back of the box we can see here that the model was distributed on behalf of the Kernow Model Rail Centre, who I think originally produced the model in association with Dapol, and then it was taken over by DJ Models. The design of the box itself doesn't promise much. There's little indication of what lies inside, apart from the obvious wording. However, the box is of a very strong and sturdy construction, which perhaps overreaches Bachmann's own style of boxing. Inside we have the standard leaflet with instructions for maintenance, the history of the class, and importantly for me, how to fit the 6-pin DCC chip, the printed circuit board being concealed behind the smoke box door, which is attached by magnets. So this is certainly a novel feature that I've not come across before. Hopefully will aid in DCC fitting. So now we can have a look at the model itself, and as usual these days it's well protected within the block of ice style packaging. So let's just get that out, and here we have an accessory bag containing the route indicator discs, vacuum pipes and couplings, and here we have another set of accessories. These are a nice set of fire irons, so they'll come in useful. Now, at this stage, it has to be said that I'm opening this model with a certain amount of trepidation because I've recently seen the review from Sam's Trains, so I hope you won't mind me referencing him, which concluded that the model was essentially plastic tat. So I hope there's certainly more to it than that, and I hope I haven't just spent £118 on some plastic tat. Anyway, I had my order placed before I saw Sam's review, so it's too late now, in for a penny, in for a pound. Certainly looks a lovely model, especially in this SR green livery. However, there's not a great deal of weight to it, and I can definitely concur that the chassis is made entirely of plastic. There doesn't seem to be any die-cast material on this at all, probably apart from the wheels and the motor itself, so there's not a great deal of weight. So is that going to affect the tractive effort of this loco? Anyway, as I said, it's a lovely little loco, puts me in mind a little bit of Ivor the Engine. The first thing that strikes me is the beauty of this livery and how suited it is to the model, in Southern Rail apple green with black and white lining, with its Southern logo displayed prominently on the central splasher. The black dome is perhaps somewhat unusual. Apparently the loco carried this livery whilst at Buckfastleigh between 1978 and 2001 in preservation, but I have read that during that time it was on display only and never actually ran in that livery. Anyway, I'm not sure that that matters. The livery application is really quite stunning. Closer inspection does reveal that there is a seam line which runs down the centre of the boiler and across the dome, but that can only be seen really at very close-up quarters. The paint and loco number are nicely applied to the front buffer beam, but the whole ensemble is let down by the actual buffers themselves, looking rather crudely moulded in plastic and not even sprung. You can also see from this angle the moulded safety valves on the dome, and the moulded body side valve at the front of the boiler, although the tap on the smokebox side is separately applied. Although not made of turned brass, the separately applied whistle looks to be very well situated. Perhaps slightly less well situated is what I think must be the front firebox damper rod, which you can see here extending diagonally down from the cab. This just appears to be moulded directly onto the side of the boiler. On these locomotives, the water tanks are not mounted above the footplate, but are set low down between the frames, literally a well tank. The tank filler was located in the coal bunker, but on this model it doesn't appear to have been modelled at all. You can also see in this view the rear wheel splasher is extended right throughout the cab, which rather ruins the interior of the cab, so I won't be fitting cab lights or firebox flicker on this occasion. There is some detail in the cab, however, which with a separately fitted regulator and gauge is quite nicely picked out. Turning our attention to the running gear now, and we have an unfortunate juxtaposition of materials. The connecting rods are made of metal, whereas the valve gear appears to be made of plastic. You can clearly see the effect that this has visually. So now I come to the elephant in the living room where this model is concerned. And I say elephant in the living room because it's not necessarily an issue I've seen a great deal of discussion about. But if you look carefully, it appears that the entire cab leans backwards. The running plate is not 100% straight, with a distinct high point above the rear driving wheel, which leads to a consequential slope back down to the rear buffer beam. It's not an issue unique to my model, but is observable on all the other versions of this model that I've seen. Obviously a design flaw of some sort, but I'm surprised that Bachmann / EFE have released a model with this issue. Perhaps it wasn't regarded as a serious enough flaw, but I certainly can't look at this model without seeing it. Let's turn our attention to how the model performs. I've run in the loco for 30 minutes in each direction on this DC test track that I've put together on the baseboards of what is due to become a 009 gauge layout, but is currently drastically delayed due to what must be a global shortage of nickel-silver track and rail joiners. Anyway, you can see that the loco is happily trundling around with 2 Hornby Southern Rail 4-wheel coaches and a Dapple 6-wheel milk tank. Let's try something a little more testing. So I've replaced the Hornby 4-wheelers with a couple of Hornby SR Bulliard 59-foot coaches. No problem so far. Slight grinding sound coming from that far top left hand corner, so perhaps a sign of some wheel slippage there. Let's add an extra coach and see how we get on. Well, the loco seems to be coping quite well with these 3 coaches. There certainly seems to be something of an issue in this top left-hand corner, maybe a slight gradient or uneven baseboards. I've added a little extra weight now in the form of these two SR 12-ton ventilated fans. Certainly clear that there's something of an issue on the far side of the track setup. Time to add some more weight, this time in the form of the Hornby X LSWR 24-ton goods brake fan. Well, it's clear to see now that I've reached the limit of what this loco is capable of, at least on the test track that I've set up. Its light weight leaves it unable to haul more than 2 or possibly 3 coaches. Let's just check the EFE box again. Yes, it clearly states EFE Rail originates from the popular exclusive first editions range of collectible die-cast models. Yet it's clear that the lack of either a die-cast running plate or boiler could easily lead someone to conclude that it's, well, little more than plastic tat. I still think there's more to it than that, so let's take a look at DCC fitting and see how well it fares on the main layout. The designers of this model have certainly made it easier for DCC fitting to take place. Well, at least in theory, because the printed circuit board is located behind the smoke box door, which is held in place by magnets. The DCC decoder that I've chosen to use for this project is the one that comes recommended by Rails of Sheffield themselves. It's their own 6-pin direct DCC decoder. As you can see, it's very small, and there it is there, and will plug in directly to the locomotive. It's just simply a question of removing the smoke box door, which is attached by these 2 magnets that you can see here. Then we have to pull out the PCB board, which is located on wires inside. Can be a bit fiddly. There it is there. And then we have to remove the blanking plate. That just slides out. Might need wiggling a little bit to ease that out gently. There we are. And there it is there. And here we just simply then slide the chip in. Make sure we've got it round the right way. That just slides in neatly like so. So then it's just a question of putting the PCB board back inside the smoke box, using the pliers just to ease that in. There we are. Make sure it's clear of the smoke box door, which then just clips back on using the magnets. And there we have it, DCC fitted. That was a very easy job. So over to the main layout now, and we're down at platform 1, and it seems that Sir Topham Tat, the Fat Controller himself, has even put in an appearance. see, the Beattie Well Tank performed very well after DCC fitting and running on the main layout. There were no issues with a small two-coach train or small goods train. Melchester is a Southern Railway based layout, but I only have 2 tank engines, and both of those are M7s, which I use for push-pull trains, freight and shunting. I'm looking to build up my collection of tank engines, so when I saw this new release from EFE Rail, I thought it would be particularly useful for shunting duties in the goods yard. So let's put it to the test now. Shunting at low speeds with plenty of stopping and starting was causing a few difficulties, as well as difficulties on point work at low speeds. So a quick blast with the Woodland Scenic's Tidy Track system, just to make sure that the issue isn't being caused by dirty track. Check out my review of this great item as well, by the way. Well, there still seems to be no improvement, unfortunately. I think it's probably time to call in the Fat Controller for a closer look at what could be going on here. It turns out that the wheels of the locomotive were not as clean as I would expect of a brand new locomotive, which is probably quite unusual. So a quick clean of the wheels was ordered. Also, a further cleaning of the entire goods yard track was ordered. These measures certainly improved things, as you'll see shortly. However, I concluded that the locomotive's light weight, combined with slow speed and stop-start operation, didn't suit this loco particularly well. The smallest loco in my fleet, the Hornby Ruston Shunter, performs much better, and amazingly at 100 grams is only 2 grams lighter than the Beattie Well Tank at 102 grams. So here then is the second episode of shunting following the wheel and track cleaning. Well, a much improved performance from the Beattie Well Tank following the wheel cleaning, still the occasional stutter and stumble on the odd pair of points here and there. However, I know this can't be down to dirty or faulty track work, as my tests with the Ruston shunter, which is only a few centimetres long, show it negotiating a whole series of electro-frog points without any incident. To conclude then, the Beattie Well Tank looks like a lovely model, with lots of nice detailing and livery application. That's if you're prepared to overlook the slight kink in the running plate that I found. It ran well, but I found it wanting when faced with the demands of shunting. The low speeds, stop-starting and point work were quite a challenge for it at times. I put this down to its light weight, far too light in my opinion for a tank engine of this size. A greater use of die-cast material might have helped with electrical conductivity. I think also that this loco may be a worthy candidate for the fitting of a stay alive unit if possible, which may help to solve some of these issues. If you have any ideas regarding this, please leave a comment below. Until then, I will be avoiding shunting work in the goods yard with this loco. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed some of my thoughts on this model, and I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching.